On this episode of Knucklehead Garage, the Bronco is getting closer and closer to full send mode.
Action! It definitely looks like we went backwards.
We have pulled off the axles, slapped some paint on them. While we had those off, we did some TTB pivot bracket reinforcements. They just need a little reinforcement, did some weld washers and stuff. Along with that, we pulled the fenders off, and we talked about the extended width TTBs. Now, you can't do extended width TTBs without going with some fiberglass. So that's going to look real nice. Another thing we had to work on before we started messing with this fiberglass, before we can fit the fiberglass, we had to make sure that we replaced the body bushings. The factory body rubber bushings just worn out. It could be leaning and it's not going to be straight. So we replaced those with some urethane, and that took us a little while. But we got all those done. Now let's get these fenders mounted up.
Oh, you have instructions?
We don't need no stinking instructions.
Really?
So sick. Let's shut the door up here, man. So we got our fenders mounted. They turned out pretty good. Got some good gaps. Tried to get the front end aligned with the hood. Turned out really well. I like the way that looks. So we got 3-inch fenders, and since we went with 3-inch fenders and we got that wide 9-inch, we also are going to have to do something with the rear as well, and that's when we start cutting.
So you want me to catch it, or you want me to hit the ground?
Yeah, go get it. So I've been working on the Bronco for a few weeks. We got a lot of stuff done, but we still got quite a few things to do. So we got all the factory bedsides all trimmed out. We had those little sections trimmed out and where they can make little tabs mount here. Since it is a 3-inch bulge, we actually had to take the tabs that we made here and here and bend them out so it actually fit on the fiberglass. One thing we had to do also is we had to take the factory fuel door off and mount it up and do a little fitment there. And then we also trimmed around the tail lights to try to make that look pretty clean, and got a couple fasteners back here as well. Pretty solid, holds it in place. One of the things that we researched and that we mentioned in our first video is kind of an ABS delete. We mentioned that we were just going to bypass the ABS module and that was kind of where we were going to end it. But one thing I realized as I continued to work is that we had this giant ABS pump or ABS motor that actually controls that anti-lock braking in the brake system, and it's just in the way, and it had lines going everywhere. So I decided to get rid of it as well. And when you get rid of that, one of the things we were able to do, which was nice, is we were able to shorten all the lines. And I don't know if you can see it from there, but we took the factory lines, pulled them all out, and shortened them up, and made them just accessible back here. They no longer had to come way up here to the front and get to the ABS motor. But when we did that, what you have to do is you have to add a rear proportioning valve or a bias valve. because what can happen is with the disc brakes in the rear that we've upgraded, and I think it can even happen with drums, is without that ABS motor, when you hit the brakes, your rear tires will actually lock up before the fronts do. And what you can get into is a scenario where the back end wants to brake and swing around the front end, which isn't very helpful. So we added that brake bias valve right here so we can kind of close the pressure off to the rear and keep that from happening. Another thing we did was we had to bypass the ABS module. And really all you have to do is to bypass it is there's just 4 wires in here, and actually it's just 2 wires that come to four different contacts. But I pulled those wires out and then just junctioned them together. And you can see right here, I just pulled the wires out, cut them, and then used a little crimp connector and put them together. And what that does is allows the transmission to shift good and then keeps the speedometer working. So good thing to do. You might have noticed that another thing we got done was we got our bump stops mounted. We do have, I made these 2, I had to make these mounting plates on the side, and really I need to come back with a top plate just to reinforce it, just to make sure we don't rip those off in the future. So Tom Woods really came through on our drive shafts for the Jeep project, so we figured we'd give them a call again for the Bronco. They really delivered on this rear shaft. It's actually a lot bigger tube, a lot stronger, and we had to go with a U-joint instead of a flange for our 9-inch because the 9-inch had a 1350 yoke. Well, since we upgraded the 1350 yoke, I was researching online and realized that Tom Woods made a flange for the other side that made it up with our factory flange where you could run 1350s on the CVs as well. So we actually got a little bit beefier drive shaft for this project and should hold up if we ever give the Bronco a little more power. One thing I want to show you that we didn't talk about earlier was I did finally get the vehicle speed sensor relocation kit installed. Desolate makes this, has the nice standoffs to where you can mount the sensor, and the tone ring, which has the magnetic pickup points on it that actually mounts right on the back of the yoke. That all fit up and works really well. Hopefully the speedometer and transmission will still work. Did you install this before? Take this out. So now that we got the drive shafts installed and the brake line's all complete, we're ready to put the tires back on this thing and get it sitting under its own weight and see what it looks like.
Didn't we grease that thing last time? Pure concentration. It's a Prerunner. It's supposed to sit low in the back, right?
Yeah. But we're adjusting the front so the camber is correct. Wait, I need a funnel. I'm gonna get it everywhere.
You weren't gonna try to just get it right in there? You're not that good of a pourer? See, I have to talk shit now. He's about to make a mess. Oh, it's everywhere. Oh, God.
Go get it.
Oh, God. Now the whole shop's gonna smell like that. What are you filling up there, Byron?
This is my reservoir for my front diff.
Oh. And then you got stuff everywhere. They don't really put that in a good spot.
It's working! It's working! Alright, we made some coilover adjustments. Whenever we installed the coilovers, we started at 0 inches of preload. And when we got it on back down on the ground, noticed that it had a lot of negative camber. I think it's negative camber in it. So it was like this. So the next chance we got, we jacked it up, added 1 inch of preload, just to see what it looked like. And it had a little too much camber, positive camber I do believe. And so we jacked it up again, took it to a 1/2 inch, lowered it back down, looked pretty good.
What you got there, Byron?
Only the best spanner wrench for the job. Nobody ever knew that a 1940s style C-clamp was could work as a spanner wrench. Just don't mar it up. Then we had to do a little bit of toe adjustment on the tie rod ends. We got it close enough to be able to drive it. Once we drive it a little bit, we'll get a good baseline, and then we'll be able to adjust from there to finally tune. So after working with a lot of the front end stuff, on the core support, removing a lot of the factory components, and started trying to put some of that back on, we realized that the factory battery box was going to be a little weak. So we did some research online and kind of figured out that a good idea is to relocate the battery box to somewhere rear in the vehicle, lower preferably, and that can get that weight off that core support and get it a little lower. So I was thinking about how I could do that, and I was looking at all my scrap parts that I kind of pulled off and where I could get pieces to build this with. And I looked at the tire carrier, the swing tire carrier that's actually on the rear of the Bronco. And I'd already taken it off, and I said, you know, all those components are going to be perfect. So I cut up the tire carrier, reused the swivel bushings, or the swivel pieces, and those actually bolt up to the bottom of the frame. One problem is the tire carrier only has 2, and I need 3. So I'm waiting on one more bushing to come in so I can finish up this tire carrier. Once I get that done, I'll mount our battery box on it, and then the battery will be underslung right behind the transfer case. Hopefully it shouldn't get impacted by too much stuff either. It should be in a pretty good spot. Well, we got our battery box mount finished up. Got some paint on it. Now let's see if we can get this bad boy mounted. Where's a little hand when you need it? So there it is, all tucked up right behind the transfer case. You can see transfer case and skid plate actually hang lower than it does. But it's up there nice and neat. Exhaust clears, drive shaft clears, away from the frame, away from the body, all nice and tidy. All we gotta do is get some battery cables now. That concludes this episode of Knucklehead Garage. We got a few things to tidy up. On the next episode, we'll finish those up, take this thing out, tune some shocks, and really see what it can do.